Here we go again. Honestly, I don't know why I do this to myself. The bags under my eyes are fucking heavy. Dave Smith is talking nonsense again. And I already made a bit of a reply. I only watched the first 10 minutes and I was like, fuck it. I'll make a video. I will talk about these points because they come up early. And hopefully he doesn't talk about Ben Shapiro for the whole hour. Like that's some creepy shit. So yeah, I'll go over the points. I don't care about the Ben Shapiro drama. I like him and him and Ben Shapiro. I just don't care. I'm gonna talk about his points regarding Israel and Hamas. Also, he mentioned that he started this podcast right after his Piers Morgan debate, probably. Like, as always, all Dave Smith debates are not debates. They're just like, other people are doing the lifting and like don't let anyone debate him. I don't know why everyone's protecting Dave Smith. This fucking clown, but whatever. And yeah, so we'll go there. Once that's out, we'll talk about that. But that's a video for another day, probably the Saturday. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah. And yeah, so let's get started. He has a problem with Ben Shapiro, which, again, not the focus of this video. If you want to be like, oh, you're defending Ben Shapiro, you're in the wrong video. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be here defending Ben Shapiro. Plenty of hypocrisy on Ben Shapiro. Dave Smith is right, pointing out the hypocrisy. I just don't care about that topic. I care about what he says regarding the points that Ben Shapiro makes.
Without further ado, let's go to Ben Shapiro.
Let's go.
Dave Smith, another one of these. Right? He came out yesterday that Trump should be impeached.
Pause it already. Said my name. Finally, after all these years, Ben Shapiro's made so many videos going at me, and he's never once mentioned my name. And now finally, here we are. Dave Smith, I have officially made it. That's a lot to me, Ben. I appreciate it. It took all of us some time. I have family members who still can't remember verse.
Okay.
However, there is a problem with that, Ben, because now I'm going to destroy you. Welcome to the funeral of Ben Shapiro, everybody.
Here's the thing, right? I'm gonna name this the funeral of Dave Smith. Obviously, this doesn't make any sense as much as his video also doesn't make sense. It's a clickbait title. You cannot have the funeral of Ben Shapiro. Holy shit! My phone. Like the funeral of Ben Shapiro. It's like, oh, I'm gonna talk about some stuff Ben Shapiro says, without getting any feedback, without having a perspective, without anything. It's like, here's my point of view on what he said, therefore, this is the funeral of Ben Shapiro. Like, just a weak fucking argument. But he's so happy that he got called by name by Ben Shapiro. It is crazy.
Everybody, here, let's keep playing.
Full on impeached for the crime of defenestrating one of the worst regimes on the planet without firing a shot. That's the big mistake, according to now. I will say, Dave Smith, he was consistent a while ago, then he was inconsistent, then he was consistent again. So if you go back a couple of years, he was calling for Donald Trump to be impeached. Then he voted for Donald Trump, apparently.
Pause it. Whoa, wait a minute. So now, not only do you know my name, you're familiar with my history, you're familiar with where I was years ago and where I am today, and then in all those videos, you just referred to me as the comedian, Tucker Carlson's guest, Joe Rogan's guest, but you know...
Such a weak man, bro. This is such a weak I can't stand it, bro.
Where I stood? Well, listen, hey, I don't want to beat you up over old stuff. We got here, and you know the name now. Now, of course, he's saying that I was arguing that Donald Trump should
Maybe he didn't want to name you because he didn't want to start fucking drama. Like, specifically, Usually when you name someone means you're about to go into a beef with that one person. And he didn't want to give you the spotlight. Like, who cares, man? Holy shit, such a fucking child.
Impeached for defanging this evil regime without firing a single shot. No, what I said.
So this is a key point. Okay.
Know the name now. Now, of course, he's saying that I was arguing that Donald Trump should be impeached for defanging this evil regime without firing a single shot.
So, argument. Okay. I think my thing just clipped. Okay, argument. Right. Dave Smith. Ben says, honestly, why am I even typing this? It's right here. Ben says, I want Trump impeached for defending Israel's evil war regime, which is a total lie. Okay, this is his claim.
No, what I said is that Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for getting the United States of America into yet another war in the Middle East, which was his entire mandate not to do. And
What is getting involved in another war in the Middle East? By the way, he is not in a war in the Middle East. Are there troops on the ground? Yeah, the troops on the ground have been there since forever. Okay, in multiple areas in the Middle East. Okay, not just Israel. You have troops in Saudi. You have troops in like pretty much everywhere, like southwest of Iran. You have American troops. Okay, now there is what do you call it? An aircraft carrier in Israel. Currently, it is not participating in anything. So again, technically, still not at an active war, right? So basically, what he says is that what Ben Shapiro said, I want Trump impeached for defending Israel's evil war regime, is a total lie. What he actually wants Trump impeached for and removed is for defending Israel's evil war regime, which he said he wouldn't. That is the difference, I guess, which he said he would. By the way, that is not an impeachable offense regardless. That is like the fucking... How retarded are you to make that argument that's like, oh, we should impeach him because he said that he would do something and he didn't do it? Then impeach every fucking president ever. It's such a fucking stupid argument. Oh, okay, let's go.
I know for Ben Shapiro logic, he'll say, "Oh, America's not at war." That's right. You know what the thing is?
Here.
Remember how
Another great one.
Iran was guilty of...
Do you think America is currently at war with Russia? Active. Like, actually at war with Russia. Is America actually at war with Russia? Not the, proxy war, whatever. I mean, like, actually war with Russia.
Of attacking Israel on October 7th. Ben Shapiro, remember that? Because Hamas is their proxy. Well, our...
Did you see that, by the way?
Of attacking Israel on October 7th. Ben Shapiro, remember that? Because Hamas is their proxy.
Hamas is proxy of... Hamas is proxy of Iran. Hezbollah is proxy of Iran. Now, let's just remember that October 7th happened. October 8th, Hezbollah was shooting rockets as well. So it was planned. Now, even if you say Hamas is not a direct proxy of Iran, Hezbollah is 100% a proxy of Iran. Okay? Let's even talk about it. Okay, this is for later. All right, broader context. Iran uses both groups as part of its axis of resistance to counter Israel and Western influence. Ideological alignment. Hezbollah shares Iran's Shia Islamic ideology and revolutionary vision, making it a more loyal proxy. Means it is a proxy, and it's more loyal than Hamas. Hamas' Sunni Islamist ideology and Palestinian nationalist focus create a more transactional relationship with Iran. So you can argue that Hamas maybe is not a proxy. However, you can't argue that Hezbollah isn't. However, at the same time, this was a combined attack from Hamas and Hezbollah. One attack from the south, one was supposed to attack from the north. Now, clearly they couldn't communicate between each other because they had a fear of it leaking out. That's pretty much the understanding of the situation. But it was clearly planned out. There's no way that within one day, Hezbollah managed to shoot hundreds of rockets. I don't remember the amount. I'm not going to grok it, but we all know that there was a huge amount of rockets flying from Hezbollah pretty much instantly after October 7th, okay? Like, they would not have the time to organize it. They're like, oh shit, they're attacking, we should attack. By the time that information gets to Hezbollah, and minimal preparation time, getting everything in order to launch them all at once, yeah, that pretty much, seems like it was already in place and ready to happen. So, this whole war since October 7th is proxied by Iran, okay? But here's his argument.
Well, our proxy, Israel, just bombed the crap out of Iran with our bombs. Well, we gave them diplomatic cover and...
Okay, so Israel is bombing Iran with America's bombs. Which, by the way, when you buy something, right, and the exchange between Israel and the US is not, we just give you free shit, okay? They are effectively buying the rockets from the US. When you buy something, last I checked, you own it, okay? there is some trade deal. I'm not saying it has to be monetary value, but there is some value exchange. US supplies us with something, we supply the US with something else. Okay, maybe it's not a monetary exchange, but there is some exchange. Otherwise, what's the point of the alliance? Alliances are mutually beneficial. Okay, but to his point, Israel is bombing Iran with America's rockets. That means that America now is at war with Iran. Well, in that case, America apparently is also at war with Russia because America has been supplying billions of dollars of worth of weapons to Ukraine. If anything, America is more at war with Russia than it is with Iran, if you think about it that way. Which, by the way, if you think the US is currently at war with Russia, you're not really correct, you're not really wrong. It's kind of like a proxy war, sure, but you're not actively at war. Okay? Putin and Trump are still meeting, they're still talking. You're not actively at war. Okay? There's no troops on the ground, there's nothing going on right now with Ukraine and Russia in terms of like US involvement, other than like, oh, we're supplying them artillery, which, by the way, I don't think they should, but technicalities matter. It's technically, you're not at war. All right, next.
Then take out the missiles headed back in their directions. So yeah, I'd consider that taking us into a war in the Middle East. And don't tell me anything about how Iran is the most brutal, evil regime, please.
Oh, please. Do not tell me how Iran is the most brutal, evil regime. Okay? Yo, Grok. Come here, baby. Start a new one. How many people did Iranian regime execute since 1979? How many civilians died due to Hezbollah in Syria? I don't know if you can call Syria civil war. So Iran executed, now I believe it was around 30,000 in total since 1979. Okay, it's just execution, by the way. It's just fucking execution. Okay, then you have 600,000 civilians that died during the civil war in Syria. Okay, here we go. Okay. And he says something really funny coming up.
As the government of Israel has slaughtered far more innocent people, destroyed the lives of far more innocent people than Iran could ever dream to. Not that they wouldn't.
Than Iran could ever dream to. I don't know about you. When Iran, sorry, not Iran, like not the people, okay? The civilians hate the government, okay? Like 70% of them. The government of Iran, the regime of Iran, happily says death to the West, death to America, death to Israel, okay? If Iran could, which is something that they would dream of, like they're dreaming it, right? In your dreams, kind of, you know, as the statement goes, they would kill about 350 million people if they could. Everyone in the US, everyone. Even if you were supporting Iran, it's like you will die a martyr kind of thing, right? And everyone in Israel, okay? So technically, they would dream of killing more. But yes, Israel is the greater evil in this. Why? Because they are in an active war against a terrorist organization that is hiding in civilian locations.
They're not the best guys. They just don't have the opportunity, and Israel does. But you know what? Ben Shapiro makes a point. He criticizes me for my lack of consistency. Imagine a world where Ben Shapiro can look at me.
Yada, yada, yada. This is the hypocrisy of Ben Shapiro. I agree with him on this. I don't care.
No, hold on.
Yeah,
victory match tag. Who came around and supported Donald Trump? You're talking about claim inconsistent. Is that like
you're right?
I voted
nothing to say here. He's right 100%. Ben Shapiro is a hypocrite regarding Trump. Okay.
For a guy and then said I, right? I thought for you, not supporting Donald Trump was all about principles. Okay? Yep. In the United States of America, you rose to prominence opposing identity politics as a proud Zionist. Your entire existence is a contradiction. The nerve of Ben Shapiro. Challenge me on my consistency.
I love this argument of like, you are Israel first, which he's going to mention if he didn't mention in my skips. This whole Israel first. You're living in the US and you're Israel first. And it's like, well, here's the thing. And I don't know, like, if I can say this is true across the board for every other race, religion, whatever, right? First of all, there is a reason Jews feel that way, okay? And again, we can go to the World War II. But even without the World War II, okay? You have an Israeli state that would accept you no matter what, no matter where you are in the world, as long as you're Jewish, you are accepted there. Meanwhile, now I live in Canada, and I haven't experienced this personally, but like I've seen shit and I've heard shit from other Jews of mistreatment. Okay, a friend of mine suspects that he was fired from his job because he's a Jew, and this is like a few months after October 7th, and this became like a heated conversation at work, and then somebody said like, hey, you're a Jew, what do you think about this? And then he said it, and then like 1 week or 2 weeks after, he was fired. Okay, so shit like that. Okay, there is hate crimes against Jews, you can see in the US, shit like that. There's protests in colleges against Jews. They blocking Jews from certain pathways for some reason. They're blocking their freedom of movement inside of the US, okay? And the cops weren't doing anything. Let's do this. If Biden was still in power, nobody would do anything about this, okay? You're lucky that, Jews are lucky that Trump is in power, and he's actually allowing the cops to do something about this, okay? When Biden was in power, nothing was being done, okay? Jews were being pretty much openly discriminated against on college campuses, okay? So when you say to someone, it's like, oh, you live in the US, but you're Israeli first. Yes, I can live in the US, okay? I can enjoy the prosperity of the US and contribute to the society because I have a safety net called Israel, okay? Yeah, so when you say somebody, oh, Israel first, not US first, you can be both, okay? However, you want to make sure that your safety net is safe. Okay, because that is like your base. It's like, imagine like you are trying to like, I don't know, win a political fight while you don't have food on the table. Okay, you don't have a house or like a roof over your head. Okay, and you are worrying about like fucking worldwide politics while you can't even feed yourself or don't have like a safe place to sleep. Okay, that is essentially, obviously in a very exaggerated way, what it means to be Israel first. Well, you live in the West, okay? Your safety net or like your base needs make sure that you are secure and are able to go and do other things and concentrate on other stuff. Israel is that security for Jews around the world because they know if shit hits the fan anywhere, they can go to Israel. Even Dave Smith, who is a Jew, by the way, with all of his rhetoric, is going to be safe in Israel. Now, is he going to be safe from other civilians hating on him and like maybe they'll try to attack him? That's something else, and the police will defend him. Okay, the government is not going to go out of their way to attack Dave Smith in Israel. Civilians that don't like his message might. That's just nature of things. Okay, doesn't mean that it's just, doesn't mean that it's correct, doesn't mean that it's not criminal for them to do that. But if push comes to shove, okay, and Dave Smith is in actual fucking fear for his life in the US, Israel will accept him because he's a Jew.
No. Okay, he's learned my name. Now the next step is to learn my nickname. My nickname is the most consistent motherfucker you know, Ben Shapiro.
Dave Sniff is actually your nickname because you sniff about fucking everything, fucking cry about everything. Oh, he finally knows my name.
Hero. All right, let's go back to the video. Let's go back to hear what Benny Boy's got to say.
And then he's calling for Donald Trump to be impeached again. So here he is back to being Captain Impeached. But don't worry, he too is apparently America first means Iran must have a nuclear weapon and America can do nothing. And if you disagree with that, then you are not America first. And then just some guy like President Trump who's in an...
Here's my favorite argument.
This is why Ben Shapiro is falling apart and losing all of his influence and just constantly being mocked. He even has his top guys at Daily Wire are basically going against him as much as they're allowed to. Being America...
I don't agree with how Ben phrased that argument. I agree with the concept of what America First stands for, and I don't think neither of them describe what it actually means, like word for word what it means.
First means that Iran must be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. It's like arguing being anti-war means you're going to let Saddam Hussein have a nuclear weapon. Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. All of our intelligence backs this up. Literally, since 2007.
We should wait till they do have a nuclear weapon to take action, because that's exactly how it should happen. Okay, let's wait for them to have a nuclear weapon. Then, once they have a deterrent against us, we're going to attack them. Let's not prevent them from having the deterrent. right? Because that will work in our favor 100%. And also, does Iran want to have a nuclear weapon? Probably, yeah, because it is a deterrent against the West. Okay, but here's the international concern, right? And again, we don't know. A lot of this seems like it's going more into the civil thing. However, shifting it to a weaponry is not that hard once it's all under control, right? Think about this scenario. Let's say you have a nuclear power plant that is used for energy, right? Like, just because, like, it's better energy for the country, whatever, you want to make your country better. Okay, cool. Then you use that as leverage for, sorry, let's one step back. So you start using that tech, okay? So you're producing uranium, yada, 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 right? And you're starting to build warheads. Now, the US is like, nuh-uh, we're gonna fuck you up. And Israel's like, oh, we are fucking you up right now because you're developing nuclear warheads. What they're gonna attack? They're gonna attack the energy facility, the nuclear energy facility. Why? Because it's, common sense would dictate that you're gonna attack that first. Okay, what would that cause? That would cause immense suffering to the civilians. Okay, right? Either in their comfort or it's a nuclear facility. Okay, it's gonna be a problem across the board. Okay, so let's wait for them to do that. A regime that hates us says that we should fucking get annihilated, and if they could, they would. Let's wait for them to get comfortable with a nuclear facility meant for energy. Okay, so that they can then transfer to nuclear arms. Okay, nuclear warheads. Let's wait for that moment before we take action. Does that sound like a sound strategy? Why would you let your enemy, that is openly your enemy, grow to a point where you will require more resources to deal with it, then stop it at its heels before that happens? Anyways, international concerns. The US, Israel, and others have long suspected Iran of pursuing nuclear weapons under the guise of a civilian program. The IAEA has reported concerns about undeclared nuclear activities and this is the problem, undeclared, Iran's enrichment of uranium to near weapons grade levels, up to 60%, which is far more than you need. I think you need like 25% or 20%, something like that. I don't remember. The number was somewhere here. Anyways, the likelihood is that, obviously, we don't know. The likelihood right now is that it is not. It is used for civilian purposes. The problem is, even if it is used for civilian purposes, it is a bit of a risk to leave it as is because of what I said earlier. Okay, so yes, I think America first is looking for America's best interests first. Okay, meaning you take an action versus, not committing the action, and what is more beneficial. Okay, if going to war with Iran right now, not even war, just like preventing them from creating the nukes, okay, one way or another, is it more beneficial for the prosperity of the US versus not doing it and taking maybe a bigger risk overall, right, of Iran having nuclear weapons that they could use to deter us, or they can just fucking kamikaze with it because, honestly, religion of death and all. Okay, not Islam, kind of Islam, but the extremists of this religion, okay? The extremists are a cult of death, okay? They like death as much as we love life. Not we as in like Jews, we as like normal people, we love life. They go to heaven if they kill the infidels. So regardless if they die with it or not. Okay, that's the extremist mentality. So yeah, so America first, again, benefit America. And if the benefit to America is not, I'm going to let him talk about it, and then I'm going to correct him.
The CIA has been saying they don't have a nuke and they're not pursuing a nuke. This year, the Director of National Intelligence released the annual threat report 2 months ago. What did she find? Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they are not pursuing a nuclear weapon. The entire international community has conceded the same thing. They don't have nukes. This is a figment of your imagination, or otherwise.
Yeah, no, like it's a figment of our imagination that Iran would like to have nukes. Why would they want to have nukes? It makes no fucking sense, right?
known as a pretense for a regime change war, which the Israelis and the neo.
Which, by the way, I agree. It is likely a pretense right now for a regime change, because you know what? It is better for America. If you think America first, it is better for America if there is a regime change in Iran. Like, substantially better for America if there's a regime change in Iran. Iran would be a fantastic business partner. Okay? I had a client back when I was a trainer. Now I'm a fat fuck. When I was a trainer, I had a client who's Persian, right? And his business is like half in Iran, like mostly here, but like he's doing business with Iran. He has a business of like perfuming, right? Whatever, creates perfumes and all that shit. Really expensive ones. Like he gifted me a bottle, $300. Like, what the fuck? Who buys $300? And it's like, yeah, all the Iranians do. It's like, okay, all the Persians do, right? But, and he said that it's like, it sucks because like, and especially when COVID hit, his business was hit hard, right? All that stuff. But he says like, even before that, because I was training him at like 2017 and stuff. He's like it's a really annoying business. Like sometimes you have to like smuggle. Like realistically, you just have to, like, you know, there's a limit of how smooth this goes, right? And if you could smooth it out, and the only reason it wasn't smooth is because of the regime. Okay, if you could smooth it out, you have actual allies in Iran. You're gonna have allies in Iran, allies in Saudi, allies in Israel. If Iran falls, Syria will get its government back. Okay, no more civil war. Lebanon will get its government back. No more like, you know, problems. Okay, Gaza would have no more funding for Hamas. Therefore, they would be at peace. Okay, having a regime change in Iran is beneficial across the board. Now, the expenses and the success rate, the risk of trying to do it versus the risk of not trying to do it, that is the equation. In my opinion, the risk-reward ratio for actually having a regime change in Iran outweighs by a lot the risk factor of doing nothing and not doing a regime change. Iran will grow stronger as time goes on. It will radicalize more people. It will produce more energy and more weaponry and more nukes. Okay? The longer Iran stays in play the way it is, the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people, government that is supposed to be there, that wasn't annexed. Okay? The longer the Iranian regime stays in play, the worse it is for US. It actually puts US at a weaker position on the world, because Iran is connected to China and connected to Russia. Okay? If you can create an ally within Iran via a regime change, this is also going to benefit you in your trade deals and in your overall diplomacy with Russia and China. Right? So, in my opinion, if you're America first, you do the math and then decide if it's better for America to participate in this or not. If not, then fine, don't participate. I have no problem either way. However, when you say that's like, oh, I just believe America first is like, we do not take part in any of our allies' battles, you're not America first, you're a separatist. That's different. Okay, you're not looking for America's best interests. You're looking for no interests as long as America doesn't get involved. And by the way, if America doesn't get involved in anything, America will actually lose in the long run. The only reason America is on the top of the world is because they took part in battles that they knew when to take part in. Okay? They would join a battle when it was advantageous for them to join a battle. Okay, I'm not saying America should join Israel in any fucking fight that they have. Okay? However, it is also in the US's interest that Israel goes to war, loses a lot of resources because war is not cheap. Okay, loses resources, and then America steps into a weaker Israel, has a better negotiating power. Even though you're allies, you still work towards your own interests, right? So if Israel right now is at war on 3 fronts. Okay, it is using a lot more ammunition. It's using a lot more Patriot missiles for the Iron Dome. Yeah, sorry, actually 4 fronts technically. Houthis too, whatever. Right? Israel is getting financially weaker and militarily weaker. Right? Loses resources, soldiers, ammunition, all that stuff. Right? US will step in at some point to like save the day, but technically take advantage of the situation, as it should. That's what people like. That's what not people. That's what you do. You look for your best interest as your country. Now you're gonna make a deal with the Israel for many years to come, right? Signed deal of alliance for a certain trade, right? Hey, you guys need us right now. What can you give us for us to help you, right? And for how long? You want 10 years? I want 20 years. You want 15? I want 30. Fuck you. Right? We're allies, but I'm going to look up to my interests first. Okay? It's still business. Okay? And that is what the US should do when it's helping its allies in a war. It shouldn't go into a battle where it's going to tax itself to oblivion. It should go into a battle where their involvement would bring a swift victory at a big benefit to the US for doing so. Right? Let's say Ukraine is losing, US steps in, the war is over within like a week. I'm obviously exaggerating. This is not the reality of the case, right? Ukraine now had like the only reason the US stepped in is because they got some deal with the Ukraine, right? Let's say they had the mineral deal, for example, right? A very beneficial deal for the US about the minerals. The war ended. US barely lost anything, and it is also taking from Ukraine now more than it lost. Right, for a period of time. That is the deal. Okay, that's how it works. You can't just be like, oh, we don't get involved in battles. Okay, no, of course you have to get involved in battle. That's literally how the U.S. became the superpower it is. Okay, you have to get involved in battles. If you don't get involved in battles, your enemies will get stronger. Right, they are the ones that are going to multiply, increase their influence, and all that stuff. Okay. Right now, the US actively, or more like passively technically, has 3 main enemies, right? You have China, which is mostly like a trade thing, not so much militaristic, but like it's more like a trade espionage thing. Russia is more militaristic. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, whatever. Militaristic, maybe? Okay, that's closer to that, okay? And Iran, which is also militarily, okay. But it could be like a massive trade benefit to the US if they have an ally in Iran, okay? Because all of that area around Iran is going to be basically following Iran's footsteps. Like the ones who are not currently following Iran's footsteps. The ones who are currently following Iran's footsteps, if the regime changes, those forces will lose power, and those forces that lose the power will get overrun. Again, this is like the goal, right? Will get overrun. Their power will decrease. The power of the ones who oppose them will likely be allies of the US, because the US and Israel will help them overthrow their opposition, which is Hezbollah, Hamas, and like whatever, Houthis, all that stuff, right? So they are more likely to make a deal with the US. Why? Because the other, like Hezbollah, Iran, whatever, are funded by China and Russia, right? Not funded, but like this is their trade deals. Weapons, oil, money, all that stuff. This is China, Russia, and Iran, okay? If you switch up Iran, you cut off China and Russia from those resources. So again, what is America first to you? Oh, we just don't want to get involved in war. No war. Fuck, man. Like, this guy can't think like one step ahead, let alone 2 steps.
Have openly admitted for 30 years has been their goal, overthrowing the Iranian regime. Tell me something, Ben Shapiro. When Netanyahu said in 1992 that Iran was 1 to 3 years away from a nuke, and then when he said they were 1 to 3 years away from a nuke, again and again and again and again for 30 years. 35.
Okay. How many deals were done with Iran? How many deals since 1990 were made with Iran to prevent them creating nuclear warheads. Iran from developing nuclear warheads have resulted in several diplomatic agreements. Iran signed 10-year nuclear cooperation agreement with China. Okay, stop typing. All right. 10-year cooperation agreement with China, which includes assistance with uranium mining and nuclear technology. This was not aimed at preventing weapons development, but rather at advancing Iran's nuclear program. Though U.S. pressure later limited its scope to prevent proliferation risks. Okay, so limited the scope. All right, 1995. Russia-Iran Bushehr Agreement. Iran signed a contract with Russia to complete the Bushehr nuclear reactor, initially started by Siemens in 1970s. This deal focused on civilian nuclear power, which is a good thing, but we talked about this and why it's a problem, and included fuel supply under while not explicitly about weapon prevention. It was structured to ensure civilian use, with Russia supplying fuel and taking back spent fuel to limit plutonium production. Okay, so again, another deal that technically, because of the limitation, would probably prevent. If you're hearing that noise, that's a garbage truck. Right outside my window. Hey, because they're taking back spent fuel, yada yada. Limit. Okay, so we're limiting it again. Alright, Tehran Declaration. Iran agreed with the E3, UK, France, Germany to suspend uranium enrichment. Alright, cool. Building on the Tehran Declaration, Iran agreed with the E3 to continue suspending. Okay, so more suspension. Alright. It collapsed in 2005 and Iran resumed enrichment. Okay, so it only lasted for 2 years technically. In November 2013, between Iran and the PA5+1, okay, US, UK, yada yada. Interim agreement was a precursor to the whatever. Iran agreed to freeze parts of. Okay, so another prevention method. Okay. So yeah, so far we've had like a lot of prevention methods since the 1990s, okay, and then here's the deal that never went through, 2025, okay. In return, Iran received sanctions relief. The deal aimed to extend Iran's breakout time to produce enough fissile material for one bomb to at least 1 year. It was endorsed by UN Security Council resolution and includes sunset clause. Some restrictions expiring. Okay, so yeah. So again, for 10 to 15 years, 2025. All right, cool. Deal is over. Well, actually, US withdrew in 2018 and Iran began violating terms. Nice. Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Trump, honestly. US withdrew in 2018. That is Trump. Thank you, Trump. Okay. So, yeah. So there's always been effort. So him saying it's like, 1 to 3 years they have a nuke. 1 to 3 years they have a nuke. 1 to 3 years. Well, 1 to 3 years has been consistently trying to stop them.
5 years, whatever the math on that is, 33, 34 years. When he was saying that, was he mistaken? Was he wrong?
Was he fear-mongering? Was he exaggerating? 100% probably yes. Of course. Yeah. Of course. And honestly, again, the regime change, in my opinion, would probably benefit everyone. Why would he not want a regime change in Iran? Everyone is suffering due to Iran's regime. Its people are suffering due to Iran's regime. What are you talking about? Why are you against Israel wanting to, even openly admitting that Israel wants to change the regime in Israel, right? Bibi can be like, yeah, we actively want, which by the way, he kind of did, right? We actively want and always want to change the regime in Iran. Nobody would be surprised and everyone should be for it. It is beneficial across the board if you're a Western country not associated with Soviets or China.
Or was he trying to lie my country into another war just like he did with Iraq and Libya and Syria? Which one do you think? See, I tend to think it's the latter. No, America...
Again, this whole thing of like, they're trying to like make us go to war. Yeah, they want to increase their chances of success. Why are you against this? If you think, here's the thing, right? Like, this is why I hate these people. They're so fucking retarded, man. Oh my god, I can't, man. If you think that the US joining Israel is because of Israel influence, you are a fucking retard. The US would join Israel because the US wants to. Okay? Either for, like, no matter what pressure Israel would put on the US would not go to war unless it benefits it. Simple as that. And you can say, like, oh, it's the expense of our soldiers, yada yada, and you are right. But that is what they also sign up for. What they sign up to be, like, honestly, here, what does a soldier train, like, what do you learn as a soldier? Like, literally, like, what are you trained on as soon as possible when you join the military? Okay? You don't have an independent thought. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be part of a collective. Okay? I know it sucks that politicians decide where some soldiers will die, yada yada. Yeah? But that is the nature of war. You want to change it? Run for office. Okay? But that is the nature of war. If you sign up, and again, voluntary service, you signed up for this. You should know what you're signing up for. If you don't like it, refuse command and get discharged. Okay? Saying, I don't want to fight another war on behalf of Israel. You're not fighting on behalf of Israel. You're fighting on behalf of the US because the US is going to gain something out of this war. Okay? Or supposed to. Now, I know you just came off the Iraq war and you didn't like the result and there was no benefit to the US, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But pretty much every war before that was benefit to the US. Okay, so yeah, you had a few bad wars. Iraq, you had, what do you call it, like with the Taliban, you had that thing. That's not good. Honestly, ever since, Vietnam. Not great for the US to go to like these wars, right? They haven't played their cards right. But before Vietnam, US has gained a lot. You do not become the world's superpower just because you have your 14 amendments or whatever, right? I don't know how many amendments you have in the US, right? But you don't become superpower just because of these amendments, okay? You need force. And you need to know when to use the force, because if you just use it nilly-willy, you're gonna lose force, right? America also got very lucky because of World War I and World War II. Okay, these wars taxed the fuck out of the countries involved, so America could rise in the ranks. Why? Because these guys were fucking using up all of the resources in this war. Meanwhile, America is like, well, we're gonna join when we want to, gonna reap all the benefits with barely any risk. How many US soldiers died in World War II? Right? 400,000. How many soldiers, non-combat deaths due to accidents, disease, or... Okay, so this doesn't count in my opinion. Like, this is like, okay, so you had 300,000. Okay. How many soldiers in comparison died from the European countries, as well as civilians, as well as... no, that's it. It's also... Meanwhile, civilians barely died for the US as far as I know, other than disease and whatever. Range 80 million globally, with Europe accounting for 20 million deaths, more than twice those of World War I. Okay? So you had 20 million deaths, military, because civilian is 50 to 55 million globally. Okay, 20 million deaths, Europe. Okay? Poland lost the least, but Poland doesn't even have a lot of people. Okay, look at all these countries. And again, percentage of population, I believe the US has way more population, so percentage-wise, they lost the least. How about percentage of population? Make it a chart of top 10 with the US as a separate column. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. US 0.31%. Okay. US lost 0.31% of its population. These guys look in the tens. Pretty much everyone. Okay. Poland in the tens. Soviet Union in the tens. This is like a massive win. A huge win for the US. Okay. Especially like some of them are, Soviet or like allied with Soviet Russia. Okay. Like Poland, I'm pretty sure, are like in that area as well. Okay. Germany obviously lost a shit ton as well. Right. But look at percentage wise. Okay. So who's benefiting from this war? Who's taking advantage? How does the US rise? It takes advantage of wars, joins when it needs to join, and reaps the most benefits while having the least amount of losses. Ratio obviously needs to be kept in mind. The US could have lost like, 3 times this and would still be only at 1%. Okay, so US gained a shit ton here. Okay, this is the problem with like people like him. Like they just don't think, man. They just don't fucking think, man. Oh my god, he's fucking pissing me off so
America
much.
first doesn't mean Iran, this non-existent Iran gets nuclear weapons that you just make up like every goddamn.
Actually, it could exist. It actually could exist, as I've shown over and over and over. But let's see. This is. Oh, I'm gonna finish it on this statement, and it's the best.
War is sold on these bullshit lies. America first means we don't go to war on behalf of other countries.
Yeah, that's not what it means at all.
But you wouldn't know about that
and here's
because
what,
you're
here's
not
the
America
best thing.
first, as we all know you're Israel first, which is fine. Just be that. At least admit it. See, being America first to me.
My truth, my reality. What do you mean to me? Objectively, what is America first? Not, oh, what is America first to me? Let me use this title and define it based on my interests. Yeah, that's not what it fucking means, okay? There's no such thing as what it means to me. There's America first, and then there is what I want something to be, but it's not America first. There's no such thing as like what I want it to be. But yeah, let's see what he says, and I'm gonna cut it here. Like 10 minutes of video has already been an hour.
Means that I don't celebrate when Bashar al-Assad is ousted in Syria and the Emir of al-Qaeda is put into power.
Why not? Are they in a weaker position? Yes, celebrate. That has nothing to do, and also, by the way, this also has nothing to do with America first. You don't have to celebrate these victories by Israel. That has nothing to do with America first.
I don't celebrate because, ooh, we broke up the Shiite crescent and now Iran can't move weapons into Hezbollah. Because that's Israel's problem. I'm an American.
Actually, that's also a Syria's problem, but you only care when Israel kills civilians. You don't care when Syria killed 500,000 civilians. So, yeah, it is what it is.
So my beef is with al-Qaeda because they hit us on 9/11 and killed thousands of my fellow countrymen. To me, I would say, yeah, that's what America first means. Yeah, I would say that. And I'm quite happy to
And again, this is like why there's no depth to this person's thought. Okay? Oh, well, now Iran can't supply Hezbollah, and this is Israel's problem. What you don't understand is that Israel, allied with the US, is also a beneficial intelligence, a beneficial trade partner. Like, there's multiple things you're benefiting from Israel. Sometimes stuff that are good for your allies are also good to the US. Is it like really good to the US as much as it's really good to the Israel? No, but clearly you're not America first because you think, oh, it's good for Israel, but it's not good for me. Why? If it's good for Israel, your ally, it is likely also good for you. Unless they took advantage of you while getting it, then maybe it's not good for you. Okay? Again, no depth of thoughts. Like, oh, well, this is in that part of the world, which has nothing to do with me, but it's good for my allies, so clearly it's not good for me. Oh, yeah, okay. So having your allies be strong, closer to you, right? And while your enemies are staying stagnant, okay, that's not a good thing for you? You don't want a stronger Israel? if like push comes to shove and you have to go to war with enemies that are also probably growing in strength, sometimes they're not growing in strength. You want your allies to be at the top, but you want to be at the top of your allies list, okay? So again, so like this guy is not based, this guy is basic. I'm gonna leave it here. Maybe I'll watch the rest of it and I'll react, but like, man, these 10 minutes, so much fucking nonsense. This guy is so fucking stupid. Oh my god.